Bat tracking is here from Baseball Savant. Just recently, they posted that they were starting to track the bat speeds and lengths and how that corresponds to some other stats on their website. And we're going to take a look at that today. My name is Jake from Raise the Trident. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, subscribe. It helps me out a lot. But today is the Mariners off day. They're not playing any baseball before a really tough road trip against the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. And they're going to have 17 days of games without a off day starting tomorrow. So figured let's just have a cool little fun video looking at this new Baseball Savant feature here. And when you go onto their website, this is what you are going to see, the bat tracking leaderboard. It does have a couple of definitions in here that are helpful to know before you take a look at it. The first one is, what is the average bat speed? And that is the basically top 90% of swings for a player. A fast swing is considered 75 miles an hour or higher. There is squared up rate, which we're going to be looking at a lot today. Compares how much exit velocity was attained to how much potential exit velocity was possible based off of the bat speed and the pitch speed. There are blasts, which is a new stat they've came up with, which is where a squared up ball occurs with a fast swing. So once again, 75 miles an hour or higher. We do have swing length, which tracks the sub distance by the head of the bat in the XYZ space from the start of data until contact point. And then there are swords, which is popularized by Pitching Ninja. If you want to look at his Twitter, basically just a awkward, uncomfortable swing. When you look into the page here, this is the first graph you are going to see here. And I have it currently set at average bat speed on the X-axis and squared up swing percentage on the Y-axis. And these are all the qualified hitters, and these are the top 200 of the qualified hitters in Major League Baseball. Of course, we have some extremes here. Luis Arraez has a very slow bat speed, the lowest out of these qualified hitters, however has a very high squared up percentage of 43.6%. Makes sense. Dude is a contact machine. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have John Carlos Stanton, the Greek god himself. 80.6 miles an hour is his average bat speed. That is the highest in baseball, but only has a squared up percentage of 21.3. So he is a below league average there. Interesting one, Juan Soto, who is pretty, widely regarded as one of the best hitters in baseball, is in the top half of both categories as far as squared up percentage and average bat speed. Makes sense. He's a really good hitter. Shohei Ohtani is a little bit lower on the squared up percentage, but is close as well on that average bat speed at 75.4 miles an hour. But this is the Mariners channel, so you're probably wondering, where did the Mariners fit into this? And that's what we're going to take a look at today. So I changed the graph to be filtered out to only Mariners hitters, and these are once again only the qualified hitters on the Mariners, which is 8 in total. We have Josh Rojas here, Ty France, Mitch Garver, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Haniger, Dylan Moore, Cal Raleigh, and Julio Rodriguez. We have a couple extremes on the team here. Josh Rojas has a very low, or I guess slow, bat speed, but a very high squared up percentage at 32%. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Julio Rodriguez, who has a average bat speed of 76.1 miles an hour, the highest on the team of qualified hitters, but a very low squared up percentage of 20.5. He actually matches Jorge Polanco. He's at 20.6. However, Jorge Polanco has a below league average bat speed, and that's what these red lines here are, is basically what the league average is for this. So league average bat speed looks like it's right between 71, so it's basically 71.5 or 4, and the league average for squared up percentage looks to be right around 25.7 or 25.8%, which we have Mitch Haniger is right near the league average for both. He's a bit higher on the bat speed, just a little bit lower on the squared up percentage. But Ty France, he is a little bit low on the bat speed, but he's a little bit higher on the squared up percentage, so not bad. Cal Raleigh is pretty close to Julio Rodriguez as far as the bat speed is concerned. He's still pretty low on the squared up percentage there. Mitch Garver is right around league average for bat speed, but he is low on the squared up. And there are other options for what you could set the axes to. I would like to keep the x-axis as average bat speed, but a couple other options you have number of swings, number of squared up swings, blasts, which we'll look at in just a second, swing length, so it would be your speed and your length put together. You have swords, number of whiffs, etc. So we're going to look at a couple of those. The first one being blasts. Makes sense that Julio Rodriguez is pretty much at the highest end of the blast per swing ratio of 14.5%. Cal Raleigh is also very high up there at 15%. Makes sense since they already have the bat speed to go along with it, and they make, the solid solid contact out of here. Josh Rojas pretty low still. Of course, you wouldn't want Jorge Polanco or Mitch Garver to be this low on the leaderboard for this, but it is interesting. Dylan Moore is right at the kind of positive side of both of those on the league average side. So very interesting. Dylan Moore's had a pretty good year so far, so it makes sense. One thing I thought was really interesting is when we're looking at the average bat speed and the swing length and how that compares. Looks like Josh Rojas has the slowest bat speed, not necessarily the shortest swing length. However, it is pretty far down there. Mitch Haniger actually has the slowest swing length at 7 feet. Julio Rodriguez has the fastest and the longest swing at 7.9 feet. Cal Raleigh's not too far behind him. Mitch Garver is actually on the league average for swing length, which I think is interesting because a few of his home runs so far this year have felt like very short swings and short pass to the ball. And next thing I want to look at is whiff rate. So now we have Josh Rojas once again at the extreme. We already know his bat speed's down, but he only has a 17% whiff rate. And then you have quite a few guys that are unfortunately above the whiff rate percentage here. Julio Rodriguez at the highest at 29%. Looks like Cal Raleigh is the highest as far as whiff rate's concerned at 30%. Mitch Haniger, Garver, and Polanco are all above that. France and Milt Moore are down below. Now you may be thinking this is only 8 guys, so what gives here? And you can actually change the amount of swings that are tracked to put into this graph, which I'll do now. I set the minimum amount of swings that are tracked to 1. So literally, if you've taken a swing that's been tracked by Baseball Savant, you are going to be on this graph for the Seattle Mariners. So we do have Samad Taylor on here. We do have Leo Rivas. We have Sebi Savala, Jonathan Clase. But those guys aren't really the ones that I care to look at too much. I want to look at guys like JP Crawford, who, as far as bat speed and squared up percentage goes, he is on the higher end of both. And Luke Raley, who's been super hot recently, he is right around Cal Raleigh's territory, which I guess kind of makes sense and kind of explains a little bit of the power maybe. When we change it to the blasts per swing, we have Dominic Canzone is pretty high up there at blast per swing at 16.7%. Luke Raley is also just above league average at 11.6. JP Crawford's a bit lower. Hopefully that gets a bit better once he comes back this road trip. And then I want to look at whiff rate once again because that's so pertinent to this offense as far as the strikeout concerns go. Dominic Canzone is higher on the whiff rate. JP Crawford, though, you know, whiff rate is pretty low, which is good. Luis Urias is also lower on the whiff rate as well. So, you know, that third base platoon right here is staying together still. Now, if you're not a big fan of looking at the graph point of view, you can see a bit more of a table version of this if you just scroll down from it. So, you know, I would say feel free to go take a look at the bat tracking data. It's pretty interesting just to look at in general. Now, it kind of brings up the whole question of how much does this realistically matter? I don't really think this matters necessarily a lot. It's really just more information. As far as like bat speed goes, I do think it could play a part of power, but otherwise, as far as just general success, not really. I do think if you have a longer bat path but a slower bat speed, probably going to have a bit of a harder time hitting at the major league level. But I do think it's interesting when you're looking at guys like Jorge Polanco, who has kind of been underachieving so far this year. He is on the lower end of the bat speed, but he's also on the lower end of things like squared up percentage. Does that have anything to do with it? I don't know. And especially with Jorge Polanco kind of struggling with the fastball this year, maybe the bat speed is an issue. But it's a little hard because we don't have the 2023 numbers to take a look at what it was last year and what it is this year and compare and contrast on what could be the issue. Was it decreased? Has it increased? Who knows? So I think this tool in general is not going to be super helpful this year when analyzing too much, but I do think with years to come, as we get more historical data, it may start to help and kind of paint pictures as far as batting profiles in the future. That's gonna be it for me in this one. I do appreciate you stopping by. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's free. It helps me out a lot. You can also like the video as well. I want you to comment down below. What do you think about this new bat tracking stuff on Baseball Savant? How do you think it could be helpful or hurtful to understanding the statistics? That's gonna be it for me in this one. I will see you in the next.